What's up, everybody? Been a while since I've done anything regarding World of Warcraft, so I figured I'd throw out a new video to discuss some initial thoughts on patch 7.2 and an issue that Blizz has been trying to deal with in regards to their item level scaling that has created a lot of headaches and annoyed people in the gaming community as far as those that play the game regularly. And I wanted to just kind of offer a suggestion on how this could be addressed and implemented in the game to make things work better. And this goes hand in hand with another topic, which is faction tagging, or once an alliance toon tags and attacks a mob and gets threat, then only alliance characters can attack and get credit for the kill. These two, the item level scaling and the faction tagging, go together in a certain way, and I'll describe it here. And that if it can be dealt with this way, I think it can improve the gaming experience overall for everybody. So yeah, basically, I see it as this. When 7.2 was announced and then subsequently released, they did not announce their plans to scale damage and health for mobs with the increase in eye level you had from your armor, weapons, and all your gear. Which, if they had any common sense to begin with, would have realized that the whole reason that you increase your eye level is to have a easier time dealing with mobs and being able to kill them easier. You get that advantage from building up that armor or eye level. So basically, if you're at a point where let's say your cumulative eye level is like 850, and you're doing a certain amount of damage, and you're receiving a certain amount of damage, and you bump up your eye level, let's say to 880, and the mobs are the same as far as damage received and damage dealt as you were 30 eye levels ago. Well, what's the point of improving your armor when it comes to doing stuff that isn't, in raids or Mythic Plus or Mythic Dungeons and whatnot? It doesn't make any sense. Improving your eye level is the whole point of trying to get more gear. So there's always going to be a breaking point where things start to become easier because you're more powerful, because you're doing much more damage and you're absorbing more damage. So your overall stats compared to what they were previously are making the game easier, which is fine. That's just how it is, especially when you've cleared content that you don't want to spend the same amount of time doing, like let's say clearing world quests at this point. In world quests that you've done, and emissary chests and whatnot that you've done. I don't even want to know how many of those I've done. It's insane. I don't know if I can count. I have hundreds and hundreds of world quests, if not more. And so at some point I just want to go in there, be able to just one shot or two shot mobs with if I crit right and just blow through the mobs in that area, get that world quest done as fast as I can, and move on. Because it's not content that's new. I have no problem with them scaling the mobs on the Broken Shores because it's new content. So it should be at the start. It should be the mobs there should be tougher than the ones that were in the previous zones that we played for so long. I mean, I don't even know how many months we're at 7 or 8 months now. So that's the only time where I could see that scaling actually making any sense. Or if you're going to introduce new mobs and new quests into the old zones, like they are doing with the invasions, but I'm not sure if it's just going to be the bosses that you fight in those zones, or some of the elite mobs that'll be a bit more powerful, and then you'll still have the other ones that were the same as they were before. I'm not sure. They haven't even started that yet. It's next week, or I guess it's Sunday, I think. So yeah, it's a couple days, but still this is stuff we all assumed was going to be available when the game launched last Tuesday. So, yeah. Those of you that haven't started it yet, you're not missing much other than the fact that you can get your artifact knowledge research type stuff going because you're going to need it. I mean, the amount of artifact power you're going to need to max your artifact weapon is insane, and you're going to unlock your, some new traits. But anyway, let's get to the whole notion of faction tagging and eye level scaling. Basically, my suggestion would be remove faction tagging completely now, because I mean, who knows how many of the last expansions, it's always ended up being the Horde and the Alliance come together to fight a common enemy. We're all in the same team, it seems like more and more often that's just where it always ends up. So if we're all fighting on the same side, then why should there be any differentiation between mobs we can and can't get credit for, if we're all, one fighting force, essentially, brought together because of a greater threat? So get rid of that completely, and then increase the DPS and the health of mobs. That way you will have more players in an area attacking the same mobs that are now a little bit more powerful, but then now that you've got everyone there able to attack the same mobs, you'll be able to burn them down, and the increase won't be as obvious as if, compared to if you had less people attacking the mob, or, doing it one-on-one. And if it's harder one-on-one, that's all right. It's, as long as it's not, you're not getting wiped out by 2 or 3 regular mobs. It doesn't have to be a huge scaling, but that would be my suggestion. So if you want to implement tougher enemies, make them all, everyone can tag the enemy and attack, whether it's Horde or Alliance. And that way you also, because if you don't do that and then you increase the scaling, all you're doing is making enemies that are going to take longer to get killed, that you can't attack if the opposite faction is tagged, and so you're going to have to wait that much longer for those enemies to be killed and then respawn. So you're just increasing the amount of time you're going to have to do this content, and it's all out grinding with nether shards and resources and artifact power and all that. And so the easier you can, and more streamlined and efficient you can make the grinding process, the longer you're going to be able to stave off the burnout effect from doing all that, which I don't know they even considered that, because that's what happened with Tanaan Jungle. That happens at the end of every game. There's this burnout marathon, and if you can somehow reduce the amount of time it takes to get through the daily content, and actually people are on less, this may seem weird, but if people are on less time during the day, let's say the average person is on there for 4 hours or whatever, after work or after school or whatever, if you can knock that down to 2.5 hours to get the same content done with, they're going to be able to, get off the computer after they've done it with that extra hour and a half that isn't going to be seared into their brains with that repetition. And over time, they're going to probably stay around longer. Because, for Blizzard, it doesn't really matter. It shouldn't matter day to day locking content or setting locks on things, so that, it takes a long time day in and day out. If you want to keep people on there on a monthly basis, because that's how you're getting your subscription money. You want people to be around for the length of the whole, the cycle of the expansion. So, some people are going to just play it like crazy, regardless, and they'll never get burned out. But if you're at this point where it's just focused on grinding, let them, max out or cap out whatever they can do that day in a shorter period of time. Because, like I said, that is just means that over like the let's say they play like 4 hours every day, and they're able to get for a month, and they're able to get everything done that they could in 4 hours in 3 hours. And then after that 3 hour point, they can either, they're done with that, obligatory grinding of, whatever currency they're trying to get. And then they can either get off for the day and do something else, or they can do something that they find that more enjoyable. And, that they finally, okay, I got my daily routine of, rep grind or whatever done. Now I can go and actually, maybe I can work on another toon. and get stuff done further. And then, if they get off after the 3 hours, let's say, instead of, and that 1 hour extra, they do something else, they play another game maybe, or they, go watch television or whatever. If you're able to shave off that amount of game time over a month, 30 days, that's 30 hours of grinding and doing stuff that they didn't have to endure. And so the likelihood that they're going to get burned out is a lot less. I mean, that's a lot of cumulative time. So, that you spread that over months, and you're still probably going to have more than likely going to have people that are playing the game maybe 1 or 2 months more than they would have originally before they quit. So yeah, that's one thing I don't get, is this mindset of making it this just, monotonous grind, especially in a zone like Broken Shores right now, where Broken Shores, it's just ugly. There's nothing, it's a very bland, recycled appearance. There's nothing unique about it. It's just kind of like blah. There's no real places that are all that interesting to go visit. There's the enemies are just the same enemies we've seen from all over the previous zones. So yeah, there's nothing really fresh or new about it. It's really kind of boring. It's really kind of to this kind of monotonous landscape. And we're supposed to spend how much time doing stuff here. I mean, this Tanaan Jungle is more interesting in its appearance and its variety as far as its image, its scenery and its mobs and everything. I mean, you had all these different orc factions there, you had demons there, then you had all these other kinds of mobs there. Depending on where you were, there was enough variety that things looked, you had the Arakoa in some spots, you had the Saberon in some spots. So it was very different, and then how diverse it was compared to Broken Shores. And I don't assume that the Broken Shores that we're at right now is going to be the final zone. I think they mentioned something about going to the home planet of the demons, which I'm assuming is going to be, the last zone in the game. But if it's not, oh boy, you think if this Broken Shores is it, and we're just waiting for the Tomb of Sargeras to come out, you're gonna be seeing some sub drops that make Warlords of Draenor look like nothing. So yeah, this seems to be like an intermediary zone to kill a few months off, along with Tomb of Sargeras, before we get to the the final leg of the journey. But yeah, like I said, the only saving grace for we have in 7.2 is the ability to fly. Because if they had made it a no flying zone in Broken Shores, yeah, that would have probably been the straw that broke the camel's back. Unless you want to, buy and or craft, those goblin gliders or whatever, so that you can get over to places quicker. Because, like I said, it's the same monotonous landscape. It just reminds me of some kind of a rehash of something we saw in Outland or something. It's it's just kind of blah. There's nothing that special about it. And like I said, they with this item scaling or eye level scaling and stuff, they didn't even tell us about it. It was left off the notes conveniently, basically because they knew damn well that the player base hated the idea. Before even knowing about it, they knew they would hate it immediately. And showing what they did, how they reversed things on the drop of a dime, after everybody got up in arms about it. I mean, what kind of people are greenlighting? What kind of intelligence goes, into greenlighting something? Then that, obviously, that's stupid. Like I said, you can get. We've increased the eye level for all of World Quest now. We've increased the item level for dungeons and Mythic dungeons and Mythic Plus dungeons and so on and so forth. And we've got a whole new type of, armor token that you can spend nether shards on to get. But they're not going to really make any difference because of it's not going to allow you to kill off a particular mob any faster than you could before we release the patch. I mean, who the hell is running running things over there? It's insane how completely blind these people are to the the inevitable consequences of their choices and what they implement in the game. It's just it's embarrassing. I don't know. If it's people, it sounds like a bunch of people, well, like chickens with their heads cut off, running around, trying to, get something accomplished in a way of satisfying and coherent content. I'm not sure how long I'm gonna be able to last doing this, if this is the best that they can do. So yeah, I've definitely, personally, I've cut off a lot of time that I probably cut my WoW play in half at least, because of them recycling stuff. I mean, they're doing the invasions in the previous 4 zones that it launched with, but it's the same thing as what we did in the invasion pre-launch stuff. In essence, we had the same currency then, the Nether Shards. We had armor we could get from the Nether Shards. Like I said, we had these specific bosses that would show up in each zone. And it's like, well, let's put a new paint job on zones and world quests, but let's make the theme the same thing we've already done before, and pretend like it's some brand new, exciting content. No, for most of us, it's just the gate, or the roadblock between us and getting our flying achievement, our Pathfinder achievement. After that, it's like, who cares? So that's all I'm focused on right now, is getting the flying done, and then after that we'll see. But not as for all this stuff they threw in there to hype up this patch. It's completely underwhelming, because a lot of this stuff, like I said, that gave us the impression that they were going to launch the day of 7.2. Oh, that's coming in a week. And you also have to, do a quest line that takes, like 11 weeks total to get your class order hall mount, most of which are hideous, and most of which nobody even wants to bother with to begin with. Some of the mounts that you can get from going past Exalted and getting those chests from the different factions after you hit like 10,000 rep points look better than the ones that you're getting through this long order hall class chain, and some of them are just reskins of the moose and all this other stuff. Which, yeah, we're getting lots of different varieties of moose. So if you're a big fan of the moose mount, you'll be happy. But I got the Eshiro mount from Archaeology, and as far as I'm concerned, that's the best looking one, other than the one you can get from the Emerald Nightmare. That's like a reddish kind of demonic looking moose mount or whatever. So that those are the only two that I think are any worth a damn. So yeah, that's my little look at and overview and suggestions for 7.2, and what they could have done differently to begin with, and what they should do now is just make the grind, make it so that you can cap the stuff you have to grind faster. Make it so that people can get the same amount of time done, or things done in a shorter time span, because that's the only way you're going to keep people from burning out, especially people that play multiple tunes. I'm halfway through my 12 characters, getting to the point where they've unlocked that Broken Shores. They've gotten the new traits, and then they've gotten the what would you call it? I don't know. I guess that's about it. You get the new traits. Oh, and the artifact research. Yeah, and also the Cathedral of Eternal Night, or whatever that new dungeon is. Yeah, it's on heroic, it's pathetically easy. So yeah, you don't even need to know the mechanics. Just go in, you'll figure them out during the fight. I went in with a group that nobody had been in there before, didn't have a clue where we were going, what mechanics we were going to face, and we pretty much stomped it because our eye level was high enough. Mythic and Mythic Plus may be a different story, but that's usually always the case when it comes to dungeons anyway. So it looks like another recycled zone, or a recycled instance, as far as you got a lot of night elf stuff going on, and you fight a tree just like you did in Dark Heart Thicket. Is that what was the name of the place? Except for it's fell now. Ooh, what a great change to spice things up. And then you fight that same Dreadlord, Mephistroth or whatever, that you were fighting as a World Quest boss in Azuna. So apparently he got an upgrade in his power or ability to, you know, do damage, because we were kicking his butt with 5 players in the World Quest zone beforehand. Could have come up with some new bosses for those, but like I said, I don't know who is running things over there, but it seems like they're just half-assing everything nowadays. Yep, that's about it for 7.2 analysis and what Blizz did wrong, because I don't know, they haven't really done that much right with this. They've given us some extra content, but the content isn't exactly something to call home about. It's just kind of more of the same. But yeah, that's about it for this video. I'm not sure if at this point, I'm not even sure if I'm going to bother doing WoW content for this patch, because it's so abysmal, unless something comes out that makes the difference. Unless people, you know, let's just say, unless people comment under these WoW-related videos and say they want me to do in-game footage and stuff, I'm probably not going to put it up very high on my priority list. For the meanwhile, because like I said, it's there's so many other people out there that are covering gaming content that it's like, you know, unless there's some reason why people specifically subscribe to me have an interest in it, like I said, there's no reason to even really bother, because even a lot of the people from the big channels are either quitting or almost at the point of quitting. So yeah, it's in a worse spot than even I would dare say that Warlords of Draenor was, but we'll see what happens down the road. And until next time, everybody, I'll talk to you later. Take it easy.